Now, the good news is, for now, Eric Hosmer is still number one rated first baseman on the market. I mean, that's not a bad deal. And Boris is looking for 7 years and up to $200 million, which I think is ambitious. I think that's a very ambitious number right there. Especially when you think that of the 30 Major League Baseball teams, you can probably scratch off, 24 of those teams. So that's going to leave you with basically 6 teams with a realistic need, cash, and or desire for Hosmer. Not many teams have all 3 of those criteria for him. You know, some have the need, some have the cash, and some have the desire. Not many have all 3 of those things. And for those teams, you can cross them right off the list, right off the jump. A team like the Angels. You got to think they're not looking after they're not looking for a Hosmer. They got Albert Pujols, and they're gonna keep rolling him out there until he can't run anymore. He's box office draw, baby. So the Angels are out. Well, the M's could have been in it, but they traded for the A's Ryan Healy. And they're also going to carry a Rule 5 draft prospect, Mike Ford, on their roster all year. So, nope, they're out. The Mariners are out. The Rockies? The Rockies would be logical. But they've spent a lot of money on their bullpen. I just don't see them spending that kind of money on a position player. And they do have a big prospect coming up. I think it's a McMahon kid. He's probably going to be given a look this spring, and he might actually be on the big league roster. But I think after all the money they've spent on their bullpen, I just told you they've invested $100 million into that bullpen. So I just don't see them going out and getting a bat. I was thinking earlier, man, it would be so great if the Rockies would take Chris Davis. And Chris Davis would benefit from playing in Colorado, I think. Nobody wants that contract. Can you blame them? No. Now, here's a team I thought of, the Mets. But, the Mets and the Wilpons, and, they just cry poverty in the middle of New York City. It's unbelievable, the Mets. I have no faith in the Wilpons whatsoever. I don't. The Mets also have a first base prospect, Dominic Smith. And look, while he might not be ready yet to play in the major leagues, someone like, Hosmer is that's gonna alter his progression. So that might not make sense if you believe that this Dominic Smith is as good as advertised. And if you think that, then you shouldn't sign Hosmer, because he's just gonna get in the way, and then you're gonna have to deal one of them. And besides, like I told you, the Wilpons are cheap. They cry fucking poverty any chance they get. They're so poor. I'm sure when you walk in their office, the place smells like death. Really. I'm surprised. It's just awful. They're terrible. The Brewers, they'd be an intriguing situation for Hosmer. But then I'm thinking, the Brewers, they got Eric Thames and Jesus Aguilar over there. Now, if you're thinking about the future of the Brewers, it's not beyond the realm of possibility to think Hosmer could play there. Hosmer plays very well in the Midwest, spending his whole career in Kansas City. And actually, he would probably fit in very well with that offense, because that offense is high on power, and it's also high on strikeouts. And Hosmer is a great situational hitter. And that's just what the Brewers kind of need in that lineup. Kind of what the Orioles need in their lineup as well, is a situational hitter that can produce and have a little pop. Have a high on base percentage. And even though the Brewers have Thames and Aguilar over there, I think the Brewers would be smart to think about it. And of course, you got the San Diego Padres, where he's been linked to the Padres all winter. And for the life of me, I just do not get it. I don't understand. And look, I think it's more smoke than fire. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Hosmer has any interest in playing in San Diego. I mean, look, I'm sure he'll take a paycheck anywhere. And why not take one in San Diego? I mean, if it was me, I would love to play in San Diego, no lie. And I guess if you look at the San Diego situation, in theory, all right, let's be theoretically. Let's look at this honestly. The San Diego Padres want to sign Eric Hosmer. So then you got Will Myers over there. And I'm assuming he's athletic, so you'd probably move him to one of those corner outfield spots. And the Padres do have a lot of prospects. They do. They got the Fernando Tatis Jr.'s of the world, and they're coming. They're good, high-end prospects. They got that kid Manuel Gardel. They got some players. They have some really good young talent. They do. It's funny because I kind of look at the Padres and the Giants as diabolical opposites. Because the Giants just spend money like crazy. And the Giants have just so much money. And but they have no prospects. The Giants have no prospects whatsoever. They just have a lot of aging contracts laying around. What do they got? They got 8 or 9 contracts that are over $13 million on that roster. So the Giants have money, but no prospects. And the Padres have prospects, but they have no money. And I have to wonder, what situation would I rather have? Would I rather have the team that has money with no prospects, or would I rather have the prospects with no money? And it looks like the San Francisco Giants have the better way. But I don't think the Padres' farm system has been as plentiful as it is now. But let's say in theory, so going back to this, they sign Eric Hosmer. They move Will Myers to a corner outfield position. Then you're waiting for all these young, great Padre prospects to come up. Some are going to pan out. Some are going to flop, right? We all know what happens. That's the way it goes down. But the synchronization of Hosmer's career progressions and the club's competitive expectations as far as the timeline is concerned, I don't think they match up. I think Hosmer's going to lose his best years playing with young kids that don't know how to win. And I don't know. He came up with Kansas City like that. I just don't know at this point in his career if he will want to do that. Now, look, you're going to be living in San Diego. So, I guess there are advantages, right? So I think when it comes down to it, I think all roads lead back home, man, for Hosmer. I really do. I think it just makes the most sense. And to answer your question, Kyle, I think maybe he goes back for a 5-year, $100 million contract. Maybe 5-year, 120. Unless the Padres throw ridiculous money at him. 7 years at $200 million is what Scott Boras is looking for. I don't see that. And, color me purple and smack me silly. I just don't see that. I don't see how that's possible. Maybe I'm missing something. Todd B. out of Houston, home of the world champion Houston Astros. He asked me, who do I think is next for free agent domino to fall between Arrieta, Darvish, Hosmer, and Moustakas? And do any of them get 5-year deals? Oh, over 5-year deals. That's a good question, man, because that kind of leads into what I was just talking about, Todd. I just don't see a lot of 7-year contracts being handed out this year. I don't know why. I think the owners are getting wise to this shit, man. I really do. And it's weird because I was thinking about how a lot of these contracts are backloaded, which is kind of weird. It doesn't make sense because usually your best seasons on your contract are the early seasons. I always maintain you should get the money up front, and then the later years you should have a little, you shouldn't be paid as much in the last, say, 2 or 3 years of your contract. And then it would make it easier for a team to roll your contract. But instead, all these teams, they backload contracts, and I never understood that. Now, look, I'm not an economics major. I just play one on podcasts. You hear what I'm saying? But it just never made sense to me. And especially when, like I said, players are putting up their best production years. They're putting up those in the beginning of these 7-year contracts, of these 6-year contracts. So why aren't you paying them for that then and there? I just never understood that. So as far as your question goes, I gotta tell you, man, I feel like Yu Darvish is the next one, Todd. I feel like Yu Darvish has gone around to a couple teams. I'm almost certain that teams have made offers to him. I think he's listening to them. I think he's weighing them out. And I think Darvish is going to be the start of it all. Now, I just told you, Moustakas or Hosmer, the only place I could see him going is back to Kansas City or San Diego. I just don't see, I see a shrinking market thing going around Hosmer. There's still cheaper options out there. And, the Lucas Dudas of the worlds and the Logan Morrisons and the Mark Reynolds. I mean, You know, like I said, if you can get these guys